This week we're talking about what it looks like for us to make our pastors a priority. Yesterday we talked about keeping them informed. Today we're talking about taking them to lunch. This is the Youth Worker Daily. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Youth Worker Daily, where we hope to encourage youth workers like you with tools, tips, resources, and helps so that you thrive in your ministry. My name is Jay Hyam, and this week we are spending time talking about what it looks like for us to make our pastors a priority. In other words, how can we develop a relationship with our pastors that's both fruitful and healthy, both in the office and outside of the church context. Yesterday we talked about the importance of keeping them informed with the events and the things that are happening within your ministry. Today is a fun topic because it's something that I enjoy doing, and that is offering to take your pastor out to lunch. One of the things that I really enjoyed doing in my early years of youth ministry was spending time with my senior pastor and just getting together and talking about life. In my first church, I had a wonderful senior pastor who did a great job of caring for me as a young youth worker. And one of the things that we did on a regular basis, usually about every other week, we would go out and enjoy lunch together. And at this lunch, it wasn't a time for us to talk about church stuff or ministry stuff. It was really a time for us as leaders within the church to just kind of talk about the things of life. And so he would share things that were going on in his home life. I would share things going on in my home life. He had teenagers and preteens. I had a bunch of little guys. I was able to learn from him. And it was just a great time of us talking about what life looks like while we were involved in ministry. And it was a really special, wonderful time for us to do that. A couple years later, at another church, the same happened. We regularly got together once a month, myself and the senior pastor, and we would go and we would grab lunch together. And it was just a great time to talk about a number of different things. Now, in the second context, it was not just things about life, but we did talk about things of ministry, and that was good and that was healthy for us. But here's the point that I want to make in this type of, in the topic for today, and that is the value of offering to take your pastor to lunch. Now, this is going to be a unique situation depending on the context that you are in. If you are in a larger church, you may have a little bit more of a difficulty actually nailing down the lead pastor so that you could have lunch with them. But if you're in a smaller or mid-sized congregation, you have a great opportunity to do something really unique and special. Now, a lot of us think that it's the senior pastor who should take the initiative to pour into our lives. Well, that might be, we might argue that there's a good reason for that. But I also think that needs to be flipped on the other side. I think that as youth workers, we need to take some initiative to get to know our senior pastors. And so in doing that, I think one of the great things that we can do is offer to have lunch with that senior pastor. Now, you can work it out so that you're having lunch every other week, once a month, or whatever the regular basis works for you. You can go back and forth. 1 week you pay, next week he pays. You can offer to treat him every 6 months, and it comes out of your pocket. The point is, you want to begin to step out and show your pastor a couple things. One, that you value his leadership, and you see him as someone that you can learn from, which then makes him a mentor for you, and you want to demonstrate your appreciation that he is serving as a mentor, even if he's not like directly in relationship with you. Like, so if you're like a larger staff, you might have an executive pastor or maybe someone who oversees the staff. Like, you might not, have a direct contact on a regular basis with the lead pastor, but that lead pastor is still head of staff. He is still very much interested in what's going on in the lives of the people who are working with him. And so to have that opportunity to be able to invite them to lunch, that goes a long way. So you're showing the value of the friendship, you're showing the value of the mentorship. But I think it's also important that as youth workers, we are doing what we can to really establish those relationships. Get to know them and who they are, outside of ministry. You don't have to be like super like detective trying to figure out everything that's going on in his home life. But you do want to know them. You want to know their spouse. You want to know who their kids are. I mean, you should know that already, but you want to know about what's going on in the kids' lives. Yeah, you want to know about about just the things in general. What are their hobbies? What do they like to do when they're not at the church? What are their days off? How are they spending them? I don't think it's being intrusive. I think it's just being authentically intentional about getting to know your senior pastor. And of course, you want that same thing to come back to you. You would love for your pastor to really know you. And I think there's no better place to talk than over a meal. So offering to take them to lunch is a great way for you to begin to develop those relationships and maybe get a good meal out of it while you're doing it. So here's the thing I would talk about today as we think about making our pastor a priority, working to build that relationship with him. Offer to take him to lunch. Take that time, spend it getting to know them, and let them get to know you, and develop that relationship outside of the context of ministry, and watch and see what God does as He comes and as He works those relationships into place. I hope that's a great encouragement. If you are doing something on a regular basis to develop a relationship with your pastor outside of the church office, maybe you're having barbecues, maybe your families are getting together for dinners, I don't know, whatever it is that you might be, would you share that in the comment below? Because I'd like to hear how you are relating with your pastor or your church staff in ways that maybe I'm not aware of, maybe I haven't heard of before. Maybe you got something unique and special that you guys do, and what you do could be something that encourages somebody else to do that same thing, and they can work on their relationships with their lead pastors. So share those thoughts in the comments below. Guys, as always, we are so grateful that you take the time to watch the Youth Worker Daily. Do us a favor, though. Could you subscribe just so that we know you're there? We want to know that what we're doing here, what I'm doing here, is something that is helpful, and by you subscribing, it kind of reinforces that this is a good thing, and that's going to encourage me to keep going forward and posting more of these. Ring the bell when you subscribe, and that way you'll get the inbox message that says we've uploaded the newest video that you can come over and you can watch, and you can continue to grow and learn with us here at the Youth Worker Daily. And lastly, guys, before we roll out of here, join us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Youth Worker Daily. That's YTH Worker Daily. Come along, join us in those areas where you're posting and doing more and more stuff, really trying to have more and more communication and engagement with you guys in those areas. So we would love for you to follow us. Let us know that you're here. Ask your questions, and we want to be a part of what you're doing in your ministry as well. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Youth Worker Daily. Be sure to check in tomorrow as we come back and we do part 3 of our week-long series, Making Our Pastors a Priority. Guys, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time on the Youth Worker Daily.